So I'm walking out here in the woods, taking my life into my own hands, or should I say somebody else's hands. I have an acre and a half here, and about half of it is covered in woods. I never expected a piece of property this size, as small as it is, to be so wooded. It's just incredible. I mean, there's just a lot of room here. In the state of Missouri, you can get two types of hunting license. You can get a free hunting license if you have 5 acres or more. Now, you can even rent those 5 acres. All you got to do is live on that property. But if you have anything less, then you have to buy a deer hunting license. Now, you get multiple deer hunting license for the free one, but you only get one if you buy it. So unfortunately, we would have to buy a hunting license here. I mean, the wood line goes way back up there into the corner. I don't know. It's impressive to me. I'm very happy with it. I traveled all the country looking for a national forest to stay in. For $4,200, I got this. So I haven't been deer hunting in a long time, probably 7 years. Last time I went deer hunting, I actually lived on 8 acres. We were renting it for $350 a month. Little 400 square foot house. It was really nice. It was kind of a neat setup. Brother and sister inherited a house with property from their parents, and they didn't want to sell it. But it was pretty obvious they were having a hard time maintaining it with nobody there. So they would rent it at a relatively cheap cost. There was some bad characters in the area. I mean, it was way out in the boonies, but there were some bad characters in the area breaking in. As a matter of fact, we were robbed twice there. And I put in a security system finally. Cutting the grass. As a matter of fact, it had a lake up on the hill, a little pond, I should say. It wasn't a lake, it was a very small pond. And it was kind of neat to go up there, but when I moved onto the property, it was overgrown and just a mess. So I cleaned it up so I could sit there by the pond. I'm glad I did, because I had this Henry 357 Magnum rifle. I really liked that rifle. And I also had a deer rifle. But those deer rifles are to, look at this. I think that's a groundhog hole. I've got them all over the place. We've had some busy groundhogs this year. But the 30-06 was to get out there and reach out and grab someone. Several 100 yards or 100-yard shots. 357 Magnum was a much better rifle for that little place, 8 acres, just like this. It throws out a good hunk of metal, and at the same time has, supersonic speeds coming out of that rifle. And it's a small pistol cartridge. I really liked it. And the first time I went hunting with that rifle on that property, I got a deer. I never owned property big enough to get that 5 license. Now, I used to hunt on my grandma's property. I go down there. The thing is when it wasn't deer season, you'd see 1,000 of them just coming up the hill to visit grandma. As soon as deer season would arrive, nothing. My dad had a place attached to my grandma's place, so I think they both had 20 acres. And he let a friend hunt on his property, and I was going to hunt on grandma's property. Plenty of room. And he must have got 500 deer, and I didn't get any. I'm not a great hunter, I will admit. I do enjoy it, but I don't do it anymore. As I told you in the past, I've had a bunch of rifles and guns, and they got stolen. So I got them replaced with insurance, and then they burned up in a fire. So I don't have all those kind of guns anymore. Now I do have a 30-06. Dad gave it to me, but I just put it away. And if something ever came around where I needed to hunt, I could, but I just don't do it anymore. Of course, you can get a shotgun and get slugs. I lived in Iowa for a while. I don't know, 2 or 3, 4 years. I don't remember how many years, but several years. And I went hunting one time in Iowa. Now in Missouri, you grab a rifle like a 30-06 or even a 357 Magnum, and you sit in a tree. That's how you do it here. But in Iowa, man, I don't even understand it. It was so unsafe in Iowa to hunt. What you do is you get a big party together, and you go down to the conservation areas. At least that's what we did. And these people would walk kind of in a V formation. So you'd have a guy over here on this end, a guy over here on this, and I know you can't really see where I'm pointing, but in opposite directions, and it would V towards me. So you got a guy in the center, and then two guys over here on the wings. And the goal is to scoop up the deer as you're walking through the woods. Now, in Iowa at the time, this was back in the 90s, I don't know if the rules have changed, you couldn't use rifles. You had to use shotguns with slugs. And I just could not understand this being from Missouri. I just didn't get it. But I went and did it. And when you finally saw a deer, when you finally scooped up a deer, it would remind you of some sort of war movie. I mean, everybody, by the time the deer is down, it is disintegrated. It's gone. It was the most unsafe thing I'd ever witnessed. I can't even imagine how that is considered safe. Now, the reason, apparently, from my understanding back then, they didn't let you use rifles is because farmers were complaining their cows were getting shot. I'm going to be honest, I do not believe that, and I'm going to explain why here in this video. I don't believe cows were getting shot by the numbers that would require legislation to pass where the law becomes we have to use shotguns and be the most unsafe I've ever seen. It was just insane. I couldn't understand it. Several years later, in the 2000s, I became a consultant and I traveled all over the Midwest. And during deer season, I go to Iowa again for my job. So I lived in Missouri at that time, and I deer hunted. So I go to this company and they're listening to radio and they're saying, so far 15 people have been shot. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I just couldn't even understand why anybody would even think about going hunting that way. So the second time I went hunting in Iowa, I did it more like you do in Missouri. You just kind of sit in a spot and you wait for the deer. Well, that was impossible. People just walking through the woods, scaring up everything they could. And so the problem is anytime you saw a deer, it was in full sprint mode. So you weren't going to be able to shoot it, not with a shotgun. I'm not that good. Now, maybe somebody is. So I gave up hunting in Iowa. It was just too dangerous, too dumb. And I'm sure somebody in Iowa is going to say, oh no, this is the best way to do it. Well, I just don't agree. I know that when I'm sitting in a tree or a tree stand, or even in a shack, I don't feel like somebody's going to come around shooting me. What's interesting is every time I go out in the woods and somebody knows about it, during deer season, you're going to need orange. You need to wear orange. You're going to get shot. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it any more than those cows getting shot. I mean, think about this. You're a hunter. You're sitting in a tree and you see a cow and you got your scope. Now think about this. You have a scope which brings in the objects a little closer. And you see this black thing. I think there are things called black deer. Yeah, that's not a heifer. That's a deer. And you shoot it. I just don't believe anybody is that stupid. But I've been convinced my entire life that deer hunting is one of the most dangerous sports in the world because you got all these hunters out there hunting people. I'll tell you how hard this is. This morning I walked out onto the front porch and I grabbed my coffee pot and I'm going to stick it on the Coleman camp stove on the back porch, and I hear a noise. Well, I got my headlight on and there are two deer right there cussing me out. What are you doing here? Get out of here! Rah, rah. I'm joking, but they weren't scared of me. So I walk on down the hill to open the chickens, and when I return, their eyes are still glowing at me. Of course, by the time I get back up to the porch, they left, but they couldn't have been 20, 30 feet away from me. I mean, they were just right there. If you're out in the woods and you're hunting and you see a deer even 50 yards away, I struggle with the idea that you're going to confuse that with anything else. That you need hunter orange to be out in the woods. I can identify everything I need to identify sitting right here. Now, if I saw something and I was confused as to what it was, my gut instinct would be, don't shoot. I don't really know what it is. and it would be pretty dangerous for me to shoot it, especially if it's wearing something that matches leaves, you know, camouflage type of thing. I would be really hesitant to shoot it. While we were traveling as nomadic lifestyle, we stayed at a friend's house, kind of a friend, kind of an acquaintance might be better. They had property. We were staying on their property. And the reason we were staying there is because we had a family member that was sick. And the family member was staying in this place. So they were allowing that person to stay, and we were staying in the camper. Well, I was still making videos. So I was going out in the woods making videos. The homeowner, the guy who was letting us stay there, yells out, "What the F are you doing out there? Gonna get shot. You don't have any hunter orange on." I mean, here I am nearly 50 years old. I'm treating like a child. "You get your A back here." Yeah, whatever, dude. So I come on back because I don't want to cause any trouble. And you need to be more aware of what's going on around here. You're going to get yourself killed. I'm not going to be responsible for it. Okay. So it's just low mentality is all it is. Believing the politicians. That's all it is. What it is they want to be able to come out, the conservation officers, and they want to be able to see you. It has nothing to do with another hunter seeing you. They want to take their binoculars. Oh, there's one, there's one, there's one. Let's go out there, make all kinds of noise, stomping around to see if you have a permit. Has nothing to do with getting shot. Nothing. That's my honest opinion. So once again, it's just people believing the hype. And I'm just going to make a comparison real quick. I don't want to get off subject too terribly much, but the more I learn about the carnivorous diet, the more I learn that the food pyramid is absolute garbage. They want you to eat sugar. Well, recently, some university just came out and is trying to get another food pyramid approved that has like Pop-Tarts. I don't know, I'm using that as exaggeration, but not much of an exaggeration, as the #1 food source. And then all the way down at the bottom is like eggs. So you can't have eggs, but you can have Pop-Tarts. And they're trying to convince us of this. There's Skitty, she doesn't like it when I'm out in the woods. Look at that, can you imagine? How did I ever see her? She doesn't have hunter orange on. I know somebody's gonna say, well, she has orange hair. I didn't see the orange hair, I saw the white. She doesn't like it when I come out in the woods. She wants to make sure I'm safe. She'll want me to follow her home now. I guess I'll have to. So my point is anytime there is a government rule, all you got to do is wait about 20 years and people will start believing the rule as though it was fact. And they'll start spouting out all kinds of misinformation. So I'm always been told that there's tons of people that get shot each year out in the woods deer hunting. And it has nothing to do with, I wish he would take an easier course because this one is not easy. She wants me to go through all these briar patches and the junkyard. They want you to stop hunting is what it is. They don't want you out there. So they try to scare you into believing that it's the most dangerous activity you can ever engage in. See, she's walking me home. And I'm going to take the easier course and hope she finds me. Like I said, in Iowa, it is pretty dangerous. I will admit that. And I don't even get it. If you got hunters shooting cattle, then those hunters need to be taking responsibility for killing the cattle. But I just don't believe that's what's happening. Also, what are they doing on your property? So last night, I decided I would look up how many people were shot last year during hunting season, deer season. And there was four people. And I thought, whoa, I'm wrong. People do die in hunting season. So I opened the article because that was just the headline. 4 people shot last year, deer hunting season. Oh man, so I'm opening it up and I'm reading. 3 people were shot and did not die. And then there was a youth. I believe he was 14 years old, 13 or 14 years old. These are some tragic situations they were in. Now they were out there hunting deer. Some hunter pointed a gun at them. I mean, literally, some hunter pointed a gun at him, and shot him. The boy was shot right in the chest. Now, they identified the perpetrator. The perpetrator was the victim. He shot himself. All 4 victims shot themselves. That was it. But the headline said 4 people shot during deer season. And that's the trick, is to convince you that people are out there shooting each other. If you're pointing a gun at someone in a deer stand and you think, I wonder how that deer got up in that tree, and you pull the trigger, you better hope I die. It wasn't an accident. You did it on purpose. So if you'll click this up next box, take the video where I was talking about the wood stove. So I hope I can inspire you to be safe. Not too safe. So you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.